Hey, good morning. I want to welcome everybody and thank you all for joining us at Evolve Systems for our November webinar on our topic of how to plan for a new website. I'm John Kozan, the digital marketing strategist here at Evolve Systems. I'll be your host for today. If you or your company are pondering the idea of a new website, one of the things that you should know is you'll want to start creating a plan first. Without a plan, it's like building a house without a blueprint. You'll overlook some essential steps and forget some various features. Having a blueprint to your new website will give you a clear direction, preventing unnecessary backtracking and missteps. We hope that this webinar will give you exactly what you need for your next steps for your business to evolve and take your website into the future. We'll have a Q&A session at the end. As you'll see on your screen, there's a Q&A button down in the very bottom. So please take advantage of that when you can. Please submit your questions anytime during the presentation. And also, if you miss any part of the webinar today, the recording will be sent to you after we're finished. Now, I'd like to introduce to you our speaker for today, Don Raleigh III. Don is a new business manager here at Evolve Systems and has been with the team for 5 years. Don understands our clients' brands and connects them with our digital services to better advance their company. He has developed his skills with Evolve to become an esteemed partner among his associates and in the community. I'm looking forward to hearing what Don has to teach us about the importance of planning a new website. Don, you have the floor.
All right. Thanks so much, John, for the introduction. It's been not only a pleasure, but it's been a really great time just working with you and the team at Evolve Systems. I think that one of the fun things to share is I may be on the team for 5 years now, but I grew up in the business and have a firm understanding of how not only the industry works, but how websites in general have changed and completely evolved in the past. When we first started the business in 2002, I was just above the age of, I think, 8 or 9 years old. And I remember spending all my time on the weekends going into the office, being a janitor for the business, and helping out wherever I could with keeping my sisters out of the conference room when needed. Since then, I grew up into college and was a Q&A tester for Evolve Systems, and would get $1 for every time I found a bug on a pre-launched website. So I kind of have the experience of both somewhat of a technical, but currently I'm in a W-2 position for the new business management role. And so it's my job to listen to our clients and really understand what their goals are and what their intentions for building a new website is. And that's why we wanted to put together this webinar, is just to explain a little bit more about how you as a business owner or how you as a project manager or CMO can better prepare yourself to start a conversation with a digital marketing agency. So today we're going to be talking about a few different things. Let me change this real quick. There we go. Okay, so we're going to be talking about several different things. The first thing that we're going to be talking about is what to consider when actually planning a webinar, how to establish your project budget, some useful tools that you can use independently on your own. We're going to be talking about our website planning template and all the good things inside of that document. We're going to talk specifically about Google Analytics and how you can use it to your advantage, SEMRush and how great of a tool it is and how we use it nearly every day here at Evolve Systems. Some successful website plans and stories that we've been able to really accumulate over the past 19 years of being in business. And then we're going to go through some case studies. And finally, we're going to go through that Q&A at the closing. So like what John said, if you have any questions, feel free to enter it into the box below. And John will be able to curate those questions for you. We do want to answer all of them, all the questions that do come in, and we'll do our best to make sure that we can answer whatever questions you may have. So, needless to say, let's get started talking about your website. When we think about websites, we really want to understand what to consider before we start a project. And we think about what are some questions that you, as the person that is about to talk to an agency, what are some questions that you need to ask yourself? Because as we all know, we have to start off a project as a company and understand before we move forward with an agency to have an understanding of what we actually want. We don't want to go to a company and say, well, what do you guys do? How can you do it? Help me build a website. I have no clue what we need. That's not typically what a business-to-business or a high-level B2C office or company will do. And so here are some questions that we found that have been really successful in asking yourself before you talk to a digital marketing agency like Evolve Systems. So what is the purpose of our website? Is it to convert, sell, or persuade? There are multiple, as you all know, there are multiple different types of websites. Is the purpose of the website to convert people to sign up for different events? Are you trying to sell your product or sell your service? Or are you trying to persuade your users into thinking a certain way, or to persuade them to sign on with your different sessions or classes? We think about how best we can actually, or you should think about how best your website can be utilized and be optimal for the actual purposes of the website. The company or the team here at Evolve Systems likes to say that the website is the most important team member that you can possibly have, because not only does the website never go home and sleep, it stays up, and frankly, it doesn't lie. What you put up on your website will be transparent and out there for the world. And so if you don't have your website built for the way that you want it to be built, you're not going to be able to convey what you actually want to your customers and to your users. So consider, what is the actual purpose of the website? The next question we think about is, do you actually need a website partner to bring you to the next level? The reason why I think that this is one of the more critical questions to ask yourself before talking to a digital marketing agency is because there are so many wonderful tools out there like Wix, like a website builder, like GoDaddy Domains. There are tons of opportunities that you can do your own website and do the whole drag and drop yourself. We highly encourage that if you're building a website for the first time, or your company is just getting started, to really consider, do we need a website partner right away? Now, once you get into that next level of business where you're starting to see some really good things coming out from your website, we want to really consider what the budgeting is for your website. If you're just starting off, it may not make sense to hire a digital agency. But if you are within 3 to 5 years of business or 10 years plus, it would really matter for you to bring in an expert into the expert in the field to make sure that you're meeting your goals and exceeding them. So truly ask yourself, is this a DIY project, or can you bring in a company like Evolve Systems? The next question that we like to ask is your current brand strong enough to make a transition without confusing your audience? I can't tell you how many times we see it where a company will have an older or outdated or no longer relevant logo, and it just doesn't look right on a website. And the way and the reason why it doesn't look right is because it looks like it's kind of archaic. The logo just doesn't blend well with the overall look and feel of the website. And your customers can feel a little disenfranchised or not as connected to your brand just because it looks old. It doesn't look relevant anymore. And so when we think about building a new website, we really try to take a holistic approach of, does your brand communicate your services? Does it actually bring forth what you want your clients to feel emotionally when looking at your website? So consider asking yourself, is my brand strong enough to make that transition? I think that this is one of the more important questions to ask yourself of, do I need to go through a rebrand? When was the last time I had a logo update? Do I have current marketing materials that are reflective of how I want my customers to perceive me? Will that logo transfer to the new website? I think that was one of my favorite questions. What direction are you taking the new website? When we think about how best we want to project our website to have the right goals, what are we actually trying to achieve? Are we trying to just get more website traffic? Are we trying to get more signups for our events? What is like the first question, what is the purpose? But what direction are we wanting to take? What are some of the KPIs that our digital marketing agency can track and actually achieve to make sure that not only that we as the business are able to conduct, but the digital agency that you select, if they're doing their job or not? I highly encourage you to actually look at how best to measure results instead of just saying we want more traffic. Have measurable results and hold your team accountable to them. And the last question that we think that you should really be considering to ask yourself is, what are your customers looking for in the experience with your website? Just like the branding on your website, think about what the goals are for that website. Do you want your customers to use their website as a tool? Like if you're in a B2B products business, do you want your customers to have a login portal so they have an account where they can make frequent purchases and have an easy to use tool? Or is it just a simple information page? Think about how your customers should feel, not just yourself. It's kind of one of those funny jokes that we have in the agency, where sometimes the business owner thinks only about how they use the website and not how their customers use it. I highly encourage you to think about how your customers use your site, not just you. So on the other side of the coin, there are some specific questions that you should really think about asking the agency that you select. This kind of gets into the weeds a little bit, but you should be asking your agency, what is your current workload? How many clients are you actually currently working with? The reason why this is so important to ask your agency for is because if the agency is overworked and they have absolute max capacity and they're just trying to bring on an additional client, you may be put on the back burner. If you find an agency that they don't have any other clients currently and they're looking for their first one, that could either be the sign of a brand new agency that is looking for a new opportunity, or it could be a very positive thing. Or on the other side of that, it could be a very negative thing. If the agency is 3 to 5 years old and they have a little bit of experience, they have some testimonies on their website, but they're not currently working with anyone, that might be a sign that there's a reason why nobody's working with them. So figure out what their workload is, because you may be either put on the back burner, or you could be one of their featured clients. Or you find somewhere in the middle where they have about a 60 to 75% workload capacity, and you're right in that sweet spot where you're able to get the attention that you rightfully deserve and what you pay for, but still you're working with an agency that knows what they're doing and they're working with other clientele, and so you know that they're successful. Because if an agency doesn't have people on retainer, it means that their work is not being useful for their clients. So find that agency that has that right mix of the two. Fine. The next question is, what is your process for onboarding? I found that being in the new business manager role, that this is one of my favorite questions to answer, just because of how many agencies don't actually talk about their onboarding process. You should ask the business if they're following a specific type of business model. Like Evolve Systems, we follow the Entrepreneurial Operating System, EOS, with traction from Gino Wickman. If you're in the Minnesota community, you're probably aware of what EOS is, just from the fame and popularity. And we found that with Evolve Systems teams, that following an actual process has been very, very helpful for not only onboarding our clients, but having our clients feel comfortable with how we work. I've had some clients come to me and talk about the previous agency that they were working with, and they felt really disconnected. They didn't know what they were doing. They weren't comfortable. They didn't have an agenda when they first walked into a meeting. They didn't know when a contract was coming. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, they're being asked to pay a large fee, and they don't know what they are paying for. So really really ask your agency, tell me about how you bring me on as a client. It's more important than you realize. Next question is, how do you manage changes during the project? I've had some really tough stories of clients coming to me and talking about how change orders are managed. As you all know, sometimes life changes. I think we're all experiencing that in our society today, of just constant changes. And if you're unable to be flexible or if your agency is not able to be flexible with you and not have a clear, defined way of how they manage change, you should really consider finding a team that understands that they can be flexible. Find an agency that actually listens and has regular check-ins to make sure that everyone is on pulse with each other. Communication is key. And if you can't find a way, or if you don't know how to best to communicate with your agency, it's usually a sign or a yellow flag for the overall success of the project. So really ask them how they manage their change orders. The next question is, how do you manage pricing and billing? I've had some clients come to me and ask this question, and it tears me apart of hearing some of the horror stories that happen of them signing up for a year-long subscription. And if they cancel the contract, the website and digital properties, including the logo, content, and branding, is completely consumed by the agency, and the business owner is left with nothing. For example, the logo on their business cards, they can no longer use those business cards. And look at the way that you're doing contracting. But for the pricing and billing, you as a business owner understand that you have to ask your clients to pay a certain way. You should be asking your agency the same. Are you on net 90? Are you on net 30? How are you going to be sending me credit card statements? what are the different ways that you're going to be sending me invoices? How best can I pay? And then you can also ask if you can pay in different forms. If you get a large contract and you're unable to pay that large sum up front, talk about splitting it up. Can I pay this quarterly? Can I pay this monthly? Are there principals that I can pay this on? And there's a lot of different ways to actually pay for your services that are performed. Talk to your agency. If you talk to the right company, they're going to understand the value of having you as a client, and they're going to value you. So talk about how you want to pay for the services that you're paying for. I think you'll realize that people are more flexible than you may think. The next question I think is very, very important to ask any agency or any company that you work with, and it's, do you offer training for your clients once the project is launched? This is vital. In our world, there's so much tech and so much stuff that just not everybody can be aware of because it's so much. There's acronyms, there's different platforms, and we'll get into some of the tools, but how do you should be asking your agency, how do you train me to actually use the thing that you gave me? We think of the analogy of a car. If you have the car, you can buy the shiny object and you can have your car, but if you don't have the keys, it's just going to sit in your garage and rust and not you can't do anything with it. However, if you find an agency that actually gives you the keys and teaches you how to change photos on your website, update images, change out the seasonal greeting, or even change out product images or content, you're going to be able to actually be flexible with your business, and you're going to be able to do some things on your own and not have your agency bill you for every single edit that you want to change. Find an agency that gives you the keys, not just gives you the shiny object. It's really important that you actually know how to work your website instead of just be given something. Websites are dynamic. Websites are an employee. Think of them as your best employee. You really want to make sure that you understand how best to work with your team. And lastly, the question that you should ask your agency is, what type of contract agreements do you expect me to follow? Like what I said a little bit earlier, you really want to understand how best your agency, how best you need to be paying your agency, and how you should be expecting the billing process. Also consider looking at what legal languages and how intellectual property is managed. Like what I said, it's your car. Have the keys, and you should own the car. And the agency that you work with shouldn't be the ones that actually own the content and the images and branding. That's your property. That's how it should be. Don't let the agency take that from you. So this is the hot button topic of whenever we're talking to new clients about building a new website. It always comes down to a choke point of talking about the budget. And I can't tell you how many times I talk to people and they say, well, we don't have a budget. I got some tips and tricks for you. You do have a budget, even if you don't have a budget. The way that we have figured this out is, first, we have to really understand what is the investment floor that you're able to spend. What is the minimum that you need to? We think about what your annual revenue is and what percentage of that annual revenue is generated through your website. We talk about what is the average cost of onboarding for those clients and how much you actually spend to bring those new clients on from your website. Then we talk about how much can you actually spend. How much can you actually invest into your business for your website? And we'd like to say that if you look at 5% of your operating expenses, that will give you a good gauge of how much you can spend on a website. So being that math is not my biggest forte, I am in sales after all, I'd like to go through a little bit of quick math with you guys. So if you're a $5 million annual revenue business, you're right in that healthy amount of revenue to really start being dangerous with your website. You're able to really do some investments, and you can really see a return on investment when you start getting up to that range. So take a look at 5% of your overall 5% of your overall annual revenue should be attributed to your overall marketing budget. 15 to 20% or 15 to 20 basis points of that 5% should be allocated towards your website. So if you're a $5 million business, you have about a $20,000 to $35,000 range for your website. If you follow those rules, you can do all the math and gauge for your revenue size, and that should be about what you think the website investment should be. I think that this tool has been used very, very well when talking to our clients because it kind of helps realize that it's not that expensive. It's less than 5%. It's 15 to 20% of that 5%. It's a little bit more reasonable and it's a little bit more easy to swallow that budgeting dollars because you're able to see it in real life and realize that it's not that much of your business. Once again, think about how your website is one of your best employees. Would you be willing to pay that much for an employee? Next, I think that this is one of the more useful slides that you can really use for starting off with a new project. We'd like to think about these tools like Lighthouse. Lighthouse is a developer tool that you're able to go into and plug in your URL, and you can do some really good digging about how fast your load times are, what images are slowing your website down, and some of those warning signs that you can have for your website that Lighthouse gives you a heads up on. Think of the Lighthouse app, or excuse me, think of the Lighthouse application like an actual lighthouse. It gives you a warning before you get into any danger. We think of SEO Quake. I love going and using SEO Quake as a Google extension on my Chrome, my Chrome browser, because we're able to go in and it gives a really quick little update about how you're performing online, what keywords are actually being used, your meta information, your different data that you're able to extract from your home pages, and you're able to see how you're performing with the different keywords that are being pulled up. I know that some of these things are a little bit more technical if you're a business owner or somebody that doesn't understand the technical side of marketing, and that's okay. SEO Quake is a really easy to follow and easy to understand tool that you can use and you can understand very, very simply. All you have to do is run a diagnostic, run a diagnostic exam on your website, and you can see right there what we look at. My team always cautions me in sharing this information because it's what the tools that we use as well as kind of an introductory thing. And we found that if our clients are coming to us educated on what they need help with, and they understand that it is technical, and they get a little, they realize that it's a little bit more above their pay grade, it's wonderful when we can have a realistic conversation that actually causes positive change for their business. The next one that I'd like to talk about is Wappalizer. If you don't know Wappalizer, I think it's a really, really cool tool. It goes in and actually does a little bit of the diagnostic exams of what SEO Quake doesn't do. I think it's a great tool to run diagnostics exams on other competitors because it will tell you what different tools your competitors or even what you are using on your website. If you find a page that on one of your competitors' websites and you really like how it's functioning, how the different tools are used on the website, but you don't know what they are, you can use this app to actually find out what modules they have on their website that allows them to have that really nice functioning system. And then you're able to take that and implement it to your own website. It's one of those kind of like a spy versus spy thing with Wappalizer. I highly recommend it if you're being serious about using the right tools, or if you have examples of websites that you really enjoy. And the last one that I encourage everyone to do as soon as they log off of this webinar is just go into the Google Search Console and see if your website is being mobile responsive. All you have to do is go into Google, type in, "Is my website mobile responsive?" Click enter, and then a little bar will pop up where you can copy and paste your website URL into, and it will show you, is your website actually mobile responsive, or is it just mobile friendly? Is your website built for mobile, or is it just, it loads correctly on a screen? There's a huge difference between being mobile friendly and being built for mobile. We like to say at Evolve Systems that every single website should be built for mobile, just purely based on the statistics of more searches are being made on cell phones. Even in the business-to-business sector, people typically think of Amazon or different B2C purchases that are made on cell phones and not really on desktops. You'd be shocked to see about all the different examples of B2B shopping, or excuse me, B2B searches, and the B2B websites really do need to be built for mobile. So let's talk a little bit about one of the best tools that you can that you can take away from this webinar. It's our free website planning template. I think that this tool is one of the more effective tools that we've actually developed, and our team did build this from scratch. And I highly recommend that you type into Google website planning template. And because we're an SEO company, we actually show up on the first page for website planning templates. This template has been downloaded all across the country. We have over, I think it's 3,000 downloads. And this is something that we want to make sure that you as an audience are being able to use. So go into our website and check out and download this website planning template, because it will actually help you have a physical or digital tool that you can download and enter in your own information. We found that too many times our clients don't know what they actually need to consider when building a new website. The website planning template gives you a step-by-step guide on how to optimize your experience when working with a digital agency. You'll save time, you'll save money, and you'll have a lot of these questions. You'll have a lot of the questions that, as an agency, you'll be prepared for when we ask you them. Or we've seen some great successes of our clients submitting this website planning template and saying, let me know when you're ready for the discovery and strategy session, and so we can talk about this and any other questions that you may have. That will save you time and money. Think about it. Agencies bill mostly on time spent working on a project. If less time can be spent by answering the remedial questions of what logos do we need to use, what colors, what branding, what are some of the keywords that you need? If you can answer those questions right up front, you're going to save time. It's important that you really consider downloading this if you're going to be building a new website. I personally like it because it gives both a technical and an aesthetic consideration when approaching a website. It talks about your branding. It talks about the technical backends. Do you need an ERP integration? Do you need different CRM integrations? The website planning template will give you those cues to be asking yourself these questions. And then if you don't know what a CRM is or ERP is, there's resources on every page, different blog articles that our team has put together so that you can have a direct source or a direct plugin to answering those questions. I highly recommend that you download it and use this effective tool to create positive change for your business. So the next thing, Google Analytics. How are you currently being found? I found this quote does a really good job of explaining why we love Google Analytics so well. In order to keep moving forward, you must look back occasionally and evaluate. If you don't understand how you're currently placed in the marketplace, you're not going to be able to understand where you want to be. Know thyself, and you'll be able to actually grow into where you want to go. So if you understand how your customers are currently finding you, you're able to realize where you want to be. If you're being found for your business for a specific keyword and you're not realizing anybody is using that keyword effectively, or you're not getting the right audience, think about what different keywords you need to be using. And Google Analytics will show you what your best keywords are and what in the web pages that are getting the least amount of hits or views and time on views on the website. When we think of Google Analytics, we also want to think about, geographically speaking, do you want to sell to a particular area? We have some of our clients that are into the mountaineering and adventurous type of people. They don't want to target the East Coast or West Coast people. They want to target the people in Colorado. They want to target Wyoming, Montana, Midwest. A lot of travelers that go and really enjoy being outdoors and climbing mountains. They wanted to target people that are actually on the mountains because, let's say, something breaks and they need a replacement part. Their customers are able to go onto their cell phones, order something online, and sometimes even get it delivered. It's amazing what you'll be able to do if you think about geographically targeting your audiences. You can apply that into the B2B sector as well. How many hits is your website receiving per month? If your website is receiving about 10,000 views per month, we found that that's a really good start to where you want to be. However, are those views actually attributing, or are they converting onto your website? Are you getting a value from those views? If you aren't, think about why those people are coming to your website. How are they finding you? What are they doing on your website once they get to you? How long are they staying on the website? What links are they clicking on? Those are all answers that you can find in your Google Analytics account. And I highly recommend that you get the chance to dig in and really review your analytics. You'd be amazed at what you can find. Lastly, are you currently running any Google ads? We found that pay-per-click ads and different types of Google advertising has been a really great success gauge for working with our clients. If your Google ads are not performing and they're not converting with a really positive return on investment, think about why that is. You're paying for those ads to convert. If they're not converting, there might be a reason. You should consider working with an agency like Evolve Systems to really optimize your ads to make sure that you're receiving that return on investment. The next tool, one of my personal favorites, is SEMRush. Measure yourself against your competitors, and know thy enemy and know thyself. I think that this is just a really, really great tool to really understand how you're performing in the marketplace. Like I said earlier with SEO Quake, you can that measures your website. Wappalizer measures other people's websites. SEMRush measures your website against your competitors directly. You're able to see what keywords you're competing for. An example of this is we had a food distributor come to us and ask us, how are we performing online? What are some things that you're noticing on our homepage that we should consider? We ran a SEMRush tool, and we realized that their food distributor company was competing against Pepsi for different keywords. That didn't make sense. Pepsi's not in the right industry. And so we changed the keywords on the website, and we saw some really great growth and change in their website. I highly recommend that you understand how you're performing in the marketplace for your keywords, and if you need to measure your results against another company. If you find that your competitors are outbidding or outcompeting you for your desired keywords, think about where you might be able to invest money elsewhere so you can grow your company. We have a case study that we're going to be talking about shortly about how effective that can be, especially in the B2B market. So what does a successful plan actually look like? How are we able to understand what successful website planning looks like? Every single time we have a successful plan, we see the turnkey processes and how easy they are to understand and how well it is communicated between the agency and the client. It's so fun when the communication is synchronized between each other and we're able to understand the same language. When you plan your website, think about if you're communicating well. And if you're not being heard, say something before it's too late. Remember, you are the client hiring an agency to get your brand noticed. If the client, or if the digital agency isn't listening, it might be a key sign that they might not be listening to your customers either. You want to find an agency that not only synchronizes with your communication patterns, but your values as well. Think about your partners and how best you want to be represented online. If you don't feel like you're heard, you should really consider finding a good team to match your needs. And lastly, you really want to find you really want to establish the trust with your partner, and the results will follow. If you're able, like I said, able to communicate effectively, you will have a successful plan. If something bad does happen, or if you're not seeing the results that you are desiring to see, be real with your agency, and your agency should have the experience of being able to manage, adapt, act, and evolve. They should really understand if something isn't clicking or if something isn't working, that it's okay to evaluate and change. It takes a big business, or it takes a strong company to be able to call out when they're not performing well or not keeping to their contracts, and being able to adapt and change. They may be a good agency if your digital ads are not performing the way you want it to. If they're not performing, talk to your agency. It's really, really simple. They want you to, agencies want you to communicate with them. It's really important. So let's talk about one of the case studies that Evolve Systems has had for a successful website planning project that has resulted in a phenomenal partnership. When Redpath first came to Evolve Systems, Redpath did not have complete ownership of their website and was unable to make updates when they wanted to. And when they actually did make those updates, it cost a lot of money for the agency to log in, make the updates that they wanted, and then send them the bill. It just didn't make sense for simple website updates. Like if you notice on the homepage of Redpath, they receive the best places to work in Minnesota. How great is that? If they wanted to make that update themselves, they can, because they have the key to the car. If they didn't have ownership of their website, they would never be able to make that update without paying for it. It doesn't make sense, does it? When Evolve Systems sat down with Redpath for a website discovery and strategy session to lay out and clearly define what issues and pain factors they were experiencing with the website and online interface. The reason why we bring this up is because through the discovery and strategy process, we were able to identify what their actual goals were. Their goals were to grow their employees, to grow the understanding and education of their employees so that their employees could cross-sell to each other. Redpath is a phenomenal CPA firm, and they've been able to grow their team members to be somewhat of a large CPA firm in the community. And it's because of the ability of their team members to actually understand they actually understand how their team members work inside of the company, so they can cross-sell and actually work together as a unit instead of being independent CPAs. Redpath experienced a 25% increase in traffic nearly overnight because of our keyword optimization and how we realized that their competition wasn't targeting one of their key deliverables or services that weren't really being tapped into. They said that we really want to sell more of this service. They didn't have any keywords on their website to help their customers find them. Because of the team of Evolve Systems, we were able to show them the results, and they were able to see a phenomenal return on investment from their initial payment. And we've received multiple messages of their clients complimenting them on their website. Think about that for a second. If your clients are saying how great it is to use your website, they're going to make recommendations and send your website to their friends in their roundtables or different friends in circles. I really recommend if your clients are saying that your website's a little difficult to manage, to look into the user experience. And thankfully with Redpath CPA, we've been able to grow and have a phenomenal relationship for, I believe, coming on 2 or 3 years now. We think of Minnesota Construction Law Services as a phenomenal example of how branding and logos are important. MNCLS came to Evolve Systems looking for a modern brand with a new and fun voice for a website that increased event signups and contact form submissions. A lead or a conversion on a website does not always mean a contract signed. It could be more registrations for events. The result was a surge of increase for event signups through pre-planned email campaigns dedicated to promoting their continuing education events. MNCLS was able to reach their defined audience and capture sign-up leads to boost the number of attendees, resulting in more clients. When we think about strategy, we really try to think about what is the goal here. If we want to get more people to sign up for an event, we're able to lead people through a process. If you look at the logos on the website, we see that the before logo was kind of more of that older mid-90s, early 2000s style logo. We were able to go through a branding service for them and created a strong brand that will last much longer because it's easier to read. It's more welcoming. It's more open. And if you notice the language on their website, they say a lawyer shouldn't be a dreaded word. They really wanted to communicate that they're a fun law team, that they're able to share their services and communicate in a way that it's not awful every time you have to pick up the phone with them. I highly recommend that you go to their website after this webinar and check out the fun branding and voice that they wanted to have and see how well communicated it is. If you feel like you already know the people working at MNCLS just from their website, think about what your clients are experiencing with your current website. So, we're coming up on our 40-minute mark. I'm seeing the time that it is exactly 40 minutes, so I think we nailed that. I wanted to open up the floor to questions. So John, if you want to take yourself off of mute, and we can go through some of the questions.
Well, thanks, Don, and nice work. I think you really hit some great touch points there with resources and tools that I think a lot of our viewers can definitely look into. So during the presentation, we had a couple of questions that came in here. The first one is, what type of CMS systems do you work with?
Great question. So the CMS systems is kind of more of a technical question that we like to answer. A CMS stands for a content management system. It's very common in the B2B world or a service provider to have a content management system instead of an e-commerce platform. There's kind of two principles or ideas of how websites are built. If you're going to sell or if you're going to lead and inform. With content management systems, you're going to be leading and informing your clients more than selling a product. We like to say at the Evolve Systems team that we are a PHP house. What that means is that we're able to work in a specific coding language, and we like working with open source platforms. So to answer the question in a different way, we do a great job with different platforms such as WordPress, Concrete 5, Doodah, and several other ones that are more common. I believe the statistic is that 75 to 80% of all websites on the internet are built with WordPress. I believe that's what the statistic is. And that's the majority of what people need. We are able to build custom applications or custom coded websites if the client needs it. The only ones that we're not able to work with are Node.js or Xcart for very specific reasons. Some of them are more governmental and they require higher end security. And we just feel as if there's other agencies that are better equipped to handle the more technical security side of those websites. So I think that answers the question.
Yeah, I think it definitely does too. And I'm glad that you threw in there that we work on custom services, custom sites, because it is something that we do here.
It's fun when we're able to.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Hey, just as a reminder, there is a Q&A button down at the bottom of your screen there. If you do have any questions, definitely feel free to send those in. We do have some time left here. Next question here, Don, that came in was, does Evolve Systems offer e-commerce websites? And if yes, what is the process for that?
Oh, great question. So yes, I feel as if we kind of answered that a little bit in the slides. However, e-commerce comes at a different approach than just a regular content management system, the CMS that we just talked about. E-commerce websites, we have an entirely different process because we really want to understand who we are actually selling to. If you're selling a B2B product, we don't want to advertise to consumers. We want to understand where your customers are, how they're going to be making purchases, and how best we can equip your website with the right tools to sell to your specific audience. From that process of taking in the information from the discovery and strategy, we talk about what platforms would be best suited for you. There are some some websites that have different needs than others. Do you need portalization? Do you need a way for your customers to log into a system and be able to make frequent purchases or have a wish list? Platforms like WooCommerce are not going to be the best suited needs for you. You may be needed to look into like a Magento or an OpenCart platform. If you do have a pure, like let's say you are an author or you're a motivational speaker and you want to sell your books online, WooCommerce is a plugin that is WooCommerce is a module that you can install on your WordPress website that will allow you to easily sell your products online. We like to say if you have about 25 or more products, you should really consider transferring your basic content management system to be a more well-equipped e-commerce website.
Yes, absolutely. Next question that we had roll in here was, how can I connect my ERP to my website if I plan on offering online shopping?
Very carefully. That's what we like to say with ERPs. We like to say that ERP systems are kind of the backbone of your overall company. And if your website, specifically in e-commerce environments, if your website does not communicate or plug in directly to your ERP, you're going to have some issues, especially if you have to have somebody going in and hand coding or hand delivering the information from your website to the ERP. We have some very, very specific ERP systems that we are able to work with, and we're able to build specific platforms. For instance, NetSuite requires its own website to directly plug into their ERP. There are countless others like Epicor or other ERPs that we're able to integrate with. It just depends on communicating that with your client. We've unfortunately had the situation where a client communicated that they started the process of, they purchased a new ERP system halfway through the website building process for the Evolve Systems side. And we had to unfortunately completely restart the website project because the website didn't plug into the new ERP. Like I said, it's all about communication, and it's okay. The client was very, very happy with us because we were able to explain why. Really consider talking about the entire approach, and your website partner should really be asking those types of questions.
Great. I think you hit the nail on the head there with that one, Don. I mean, it's all about communication from the get-go of what you really want to see happen. So, next question is, if I want to build a new marketing strategy, do I need to update my website?
Great question, and that depends. Like all things in digital marketing, it all depends, right? When we think about starting a new digital marketing project, there may be some websites that are already built and they're perfectly fine the way that they are built. You may be only looking for a digital marketing team to just do the SEO or just do social media or just do simple advertising or Google ad management. Your website may be just fine for starting a project, and you don't necessarily need to build a website every single time you transfer to a new agency. If your agency immediately off the bat says, oh, we need to completely redo everything you just did less than a year ago, it's usually a sign that they don't actually understand the technical side of websites. Find a team that understands that you have specific goals, and if you have current tools, that company is able to pick up those tools and be able to still deliver an effective strategy for you. You don't need to build a website every time you switch companies.
Exactly. Next question I have here is, what if I'm updating my logo and putting it on my current or old site? Do I need to update anything else on my website?
I think we kind of answered that in the slides. I'm not sure if the person joined in a little bit later, but we really want to make sure that the logo is not looking out of place with the new modern design. The reason why that's important is because if your clients feel a little awkward about your website, where the logo doesn't match the current branding, it can kind of make your business look fake online. Make sure that you're communicating, or make sure that you understand how your customers or clients are feeling, and how they're actually using your website. Sometimes you may not need to update your website, or update your logo, because the branding is on point and you're able to work with the modern brand. If a customer if an agency, like the previous question, says that they need to update your brand every single time you switch partners, it's usually a sign that the agency isn't confident in being able to work with the current tools. I highly recommend that. I think that answers the question. Does that work, John?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the one extra thing I would probably add to that is when you are creating that logo, you want it to be timeless.
Mm-hmm.
You want it to withstand, 5 years, 10 years. And so, yeah, I think you really, really hit the nail on the head there with that one.
Perfect.
We don't have any more questions that are in here right now. Again, if anyone has any questions, go to that Q&A button at the bottom of your screen right now. Otherwise, do you have any closing remarks here, Don, while we wait a few minutes and see if anyone has any more?
Absolutely. Just wanted to say thank you to all of you for coming to the webinar. I really appreciate some of my referral partners for sharing the webinar link to a couple of their friends. My contact information, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly. I try my best to respond to emails. I may not be able to respond to them right away after this after this webinar, because you can probably hear my voice is a little cracky. I need to take some time and get back to normal after this webinar.
Great. Yeah, absolutely. I think we all do, huh?
That's right.
Yeah, I don't have any other questions in here, Don. So, I just want to thank everybody for joining us for the presentation. Don, I want to thank you for sharing your expertise today. I know I learned a lot from it.
Mm-hmm.
So, if anyone has any future questions on building a brand new website, like Don said, reach out to Don at don3@evolvesystems.com. You can see his contact information right there. Otherwise, please visit our website, visit our webinars page to view some of our past webinars and sign up for our future webinars. Otherwise, everyone, be safe out there, be careful in the weather, and have a great day.
Absolutely. Stay positive and test negative.
Right.